Hello everyone, my name is Aryan and I welcome you all to my podcast, The Whisper Link. Today, Anwesh is joining for this episode. He is currently working as Senior Project Assistant at IIT Delhi. In past, he has done research internship at National University of Singapore and Georgia Institute of Technology. This episode is for those who are looking to start their career in machine learning and also starting with a research career. Thank you, Anwesh, for joining us for this episode.
It's my pleasure to be here, Aryan. Thank you for having me.
So, like starting with the episode, I just want to know about your journey. How did you get into the research, being from a college which is not so good? Because generally we see students that in the private colleges, students are all about getting a great placement or like just running with getting huge placement of like 50x, 60x. So, how do you get into the research and then that too in very difficult field which is emerging at that time when you joined, that is machine learning?
Mhm. So, like you said, in a private university or maybe a not so well-known university, it can have more significant challenges as compared to, some well-known colleges. So when I first got into it, I was like, my goal was very shallow. My goal was just to get into a good master's program and then just use the research experience to get into a good master's program and then just get a job. But after I started the research, I I thought that this is something that I like, and I should continue it for the not just for my masters, maybe even in further career for like a PhD, and even in my professional career, maybe I can join a research person in industry or as a academic, right? So I first got into it when I started my research internship at Georgia Tech, which was provided by Bennett University itself. So despite the challenges, I think there were some advantages, and I would suggest that uh, if you're in such a circumstance that you're competing on a back foot, you just have to be very hardworking and take all the opportunities that are available to you. I think that is the key.
Yeah, okay. So like you are working in the machine learning field, but as you know that machine learning is a very quite wide field. Like there are so many
Mhm.
things in the machine learning. So what is your specific research topic in that?
So currently, my research area is in the field of machine learning robustness and machine learning security, and its applications toward safety critical applications like automotive networks. So one of the projects I'm working on is to create robust machine learning models so that any cyber attacks on automotive networks, which are used in vehicles to control their functioning, are safe. So, and another project I'm working on is a general one. It's not uh, focused towards specific application, but in general, the robustness of computer vision models towards perturbations and small perturbations in the data. So this is a wide definition of what I'm doing.
Okay, like so you are like a cybersecurity expert in AI field. If I just say
Yeah,
it in
you
a
could say
very
that.
easy language. Okay. So, like before diving into deep into your research career and all, I just want to know if someone was like starting with a machine learning career. He's just a beginner. He is a basic knowledge of Python and all, like a basic knowledge of programming. What should be the roadmap map for him or her? Like, if I start with the step one, what should you suggest for as a step one?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think it is very essential to always get the basics right. So before you even start studying machine learning or deep learning algorithms, you should be proficient with Python and packages like NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib and other such libraries. And another thing is to be mathematically uh, have a good base mathematically in topics like probability, statistics, linear algebra, and calculus even. So you just need to have a good foundation. You don't need to like become an expert at it, but you need to have a good foundation where you can understand the symbols that are used in traditional machine learning models and deep learning models. And then you can progress further and you can learn on the go. So I think it's always very important to not rush into things and to always get the basics right first.
So, like there are like I don't know if this is a myth or a misconception. I don't know anything because if I see videos of YouTubers or like who are doing great in their field of AI and machine learning, they often say that if you are a beginner or like if you don't want to go that deeper into the AI, you should. It is not compulsory for you to learn math because today in current scenario we have so many libraries like TensorFlow, NumPy, Python, NumPy and all. They all take care of your math part, so you don't have to that good in math. So are you also agree with this part?
No, I don't agree with it. See, so if you're just doing very, very basic things, maybe doing something like classification of images, even in that scenario, you need to have a good understanding of maths. So you can maybe understand what loss functions are, how back propagation is working, how we are using how we are using approximators, and so on. So even in this case, you should know. But if you just pick up the algorithms without knowing what they are, you won't be able to implement it for your problem statement. You'll just be like copy pasting someone else's code, and you'll have a very hard time if something goes wrong and you have to debug. So I think it's always very important to have a good grasp, at least a basic grasp of the topics I mentioned before.
Okay. So, like moving on to the second step for the machine learning, if someone has done with the learning about all the libraries like NumPy, Matplotlib, and all, and also done with the math, what would be the second step for the in the journey of learning machine learning?
So in the second step, I think you can pick up some courses. Like one of the very popular courses, Introduction to Machine Learning by Andrew Ang, and then you can proceed to deep learning courses and deep learning specializations, where you can learn about artificial neural networks, convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and so on. And after you're done with that, then you can move on to more advanced models, which are not always covered in the basic coursework or basic YouTube videos. And they might be covered, but you have to go out of your way to find them. It will not be served to you on a plate or anything like that. So once you have a good understanding of these basic algorithms, you can venture into the wild, try to experiment with different models, different advanced models, try to understand them, read research papers. Again, this is where the mathematical understanding is important, because you can just by just knowing the basics, you have understood how classification regression works. But now if you want to implement advanced models or experiment with them, then the mathematics is definitely going to be important here.
Okay, so like in your previous answer, you used a term called deep learning. So what is the difference between the machine learning and deep learning? Because often students are so much confused about like what are these terms. We often like someone saying that you should learn deep learning, someone saying that you should go with the machine learning, someone saying that you should go with deep into the AI. So what is like these terms? Because it is very difficult for a beginner to understand these terms, and it just get confused. Create a confusion like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in a very high level manner, artificial intelligence is the root, you could say, or it is the wider collection. And within that, there's a subfield called machine learning. And within that subfield, there's something called deep learning. So, machine learning, it is more dependent on statistics, right? So it is algorithms like Navi-based classifier or tree-based algorithms. These fall into machine learning. Deep learning is when you implement neural networks, and these neural networks try to mimic the functioning of a brain just in a very high level manner. Not It is not exactly as a brain, but you have neurons, you have back propagation, you have learning. So yeah, that is the difference basically. And when you think about compute and all, when you think about back propagation, and you see that nowadays there are so many GPUs being used for AI tasks. That is where deep learning comes in, and machine learning is like AI. You can think of this like AI is a very big circle. Within that you have machine learning, and within that you have a smaller circle called deep learning.
Okay, so if you like someone is following maybe OpenAI and everyone mainly following OpenAI. So we are very
Mhm.
often listening about artificial general intelligence. Like I've so many times
Mhm.
read about AGI in simple language AGI, that AGI is coming, it will take human jobs and all. So what is this AGI? Because there's so much hype about AGI. Some are arguing, some scientists, that AGI will never going to happen, or like something that AGI will coming in next 5 years. So what is it? Why so much hype about it?
Yeah. So, when we talk about machine learning and deep learning, until now, we have been focusing on very specific tasks. For example, classification or regression, then we had generative AI coming from around 2017, 18, when you had GANs. It started popping around that time when you got generative adversarial neural networks, then you had transformers. So when we started venturing into that area, and with the recent explosion of large language models, there's been like a discussion about general intelligence. Now, what is general intelligence? Like I said, until now we are focusing very specific tasks.
Okay.
General intelligence or AGI means that it can perform a wide variety of tasks. For example, like humans function, we we are not uh, we are not by uh, bound to any particular task, right? For example, I am a human and I can, if I can read a book, I can understand that book. I can watch a TV show, I can understand the TV show, and I can interact with my environment and learn from that. So AGI is basically like, you can think of it as a model that can imitate humans, but not like in a very uh, explicitly programmed way. Or you could say that it can perform a very wide variety of tasks, which until now has not been achieved. But people say that AGI is coming, or some people say AGI is here, but it is not yet here, and it will probably take some more time because with transformers and with large language models right now, it's just doing generating text and images, uh, and we're just learning from that data and trying to mimic that data. So whatever, with the billions and billions of pages of text that has been learned, we're trying to make a worldview of that text and try to understand something. And when I ask it any questions, I ask any LLMs any questions. It from the training text, it has learned that if I predict this word, the next word can be this. So this is called auto regression. So that is what large language models are, and the difference between AGI and large language models is that AGI will not be confined to one particular task or one particular problem. It will be able to do many types of things.
So like if I summarize, AGI, it's just a mimic of an human brain, which is less advanced than
Uh,
a brain.
you could say that it is almost as equal to a brain, uh, or a human, which can perform many different tasks without being explicitly trained for that one particular task.
Yeah. Okay. So like in LLMs, we often hear about a term called hallucination, and we generally talk that
Mhm.
hallucination is a problem which can be only solved by using a small language model. Even Bill Gates also suggests that new learners should focus on small language models, because large language models are already at their peak. So what are your views on this?
Well, I think I'm by no means a language models expert, but my view is that large language models have been trained on like a very big corpus of data, like billions and billions of words, tokens, and that which leads to hallucinations because there's so much data. So they'll sometimes predict or generate things that are non-existent or don't make any sense. By using small language models, you can maybe succeed at some particular task or some particular domains. For example, if I'm creating a chatbot for, let's say, healthcare, maybe if I can train it on a corpus selected for healthcare problems, maybe that is a small language model.
Okay.
So it will maybe avoid hallucinations by not inferring things from other areas. But I'm not saying that what I'm saying is correct. I'm just saying this is my understanding.
So like I think we are getting so much deep into the AI terms. So we let's get back to the roadmap of machine learning. So after we have just done with the student, done with the learning all libraries, mathematics, done with the course you suggested. Next, what is the is I believe we should focus on project because industry needs a project.
Mm.
If you are getting into any
Mm.
research work or even you getting into the corporate, they suggest that they always require projects. So how should one can start with the projects and what are the some general or great projects you suggest someone to start with?
Well, I suggest that you don't have to wait to finish courses to start projects. You just have to like learn that one particular part. So, for example, if I have learned machine, let's say on a high level, I've learned tree-based models, then you should focus on making projects out of what you've just learned. So I think that is a very productive way of doing your projects, and always try to come up with something original that has not been done so many times before, because you can see that some projects in machine learning and deep learning get repeated quite often. So maybe if you're like trying to get noticed by recruiters or companies, you should try to implement what you've just learned on problems maybe feel that no one else has solved, or maybe a problem that you faced by yourself, which maybe no one else has thought of. So for project, that would be my suggestion.
So like there is one question which is also I am confused about because you know that in this generation we have access to large amount of data and sometimes get a negative aspect because we don't know where to go. So when I was just doing research about my machine learning journey where to start, I saw that some great models like OpenAI, ChatGPT, and like Google Gemini, they are built on C++ using C++. They are not built using Python. So do you suggest that after reaching at a specific level, you should start with C++ instead of going with Python? Because in actual industry demand C++.
So, well, and all, I think once you're done with Python and everything, when you want to start diving deep into the low level optimization of things, because, as you just said, these companies use C++ on their base. So they do that to make things faster, right? Because there are so many users, there are so many requests coming at one point of time. So I think if you are interested in that particular type of thing, like uh, going very, very, very deep into the model and trying to tweak things in that and making it optimizing it as well as you can. Maybe in that scenario, you can use C++. You can try learning C++ to apply into machine learning models. Or there are other languages like CUDA, which is used for parallel programming. That is also something you can do if you're interested in that low level area of things.
So like I often get advice from my seniors that you that without doing any other specialization in CS like web app dev, AI is just used. Like if you are not good at web development, app development, how will you use AI in those things? So you have to learn first web development, then you should go into the AI, or we can directly learn AI.
Well, that depends on your goals, right? So, web development and all, I don't think you have to go very deep into web development if you're interested in AI. Maybe you should know the basics, like how to deploy models using Flask or Django. You can do that, but I don't think it is very necessary to, be a good web developer to, get a machine learning or deep learning engineer job.
So, like, if I talk about the AI machine learning, they are not so advanced currently in the corporate world. And I just follow like Apna College and Amanda Dawal Bhaiya and all. So they often said that if you want to get into the machine learning engineering part, or like you want to become a ML engineer in a corporate world, then you should have a master's degree. So do you think that if
Uh,
someone really want to make a career out of this, he should or someone go with a master's degree or PhD?
think it's definitely possible to get a ML or deep learning job with just a bachelor's. Having a master's or PhD will definitely put you like above those people, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have master's or a PhD. You can see like many profiles, even from our university, who have gotten machine learning and deep learning engineer jobs. They'll just have a B.Tech. So I don't think it's necessary. It definitely helps, but it is not 100% necessary. If you want to like get a deeper understanding, maybe do some if you want to write a thesis research, if you want to write a research thesis in one particular topic, if you're interested in that, then definitely masters is very helpful, and it will also help you stand out more. But it's definitely doable with a bachelor's, I believe, from what I have noticed.
So I believe like we have discussed enough about the machine learning roadmap and all. So like before moving on to the research part, you want to give any advice to the students who are just starting with the AI and all? Uh, some mistakes you made in your journey of learning AI, you want others to do not make that mistake.
Yes, well, one of the things that I've said before is that always strengthen your basics first. Do not rush into implementing or coding models, because if you rush into it, then once you are like trying to implement anything, you'll realize, hey, I don't understand this. Why don't I understand it? Then you'll realize that you have not studied that mathematical topic well yet, or you haven't, understood the way the libraries function fully yet. I think it's very important to have a good understanding of maths and the libraries, and sometimes even how like uh, low level uh, processes and how parallel computing works. Sometimes it is necessary; it's not absolutely necessary. But when you're doing large scale model training, it is definitely necessary to understand how multiprocessing and all works. So always get your basics right. And once you this is something general, not only for AI or machine learning. But if you're studying something, then do not wait to implement a project or anything. When you're learning something, try to implement projects on this as soon as possible, and also try to come up with unique ideas. Do not repeat things. This will be my advice to those who are starting.
So like let's move to the research part, because our main agenda of this episode was only to help students to get into the research field who do not have access to the great alumni network of resources. So like if someone student from a private college, what is the importance of maintaining a good CGPA if you want to get into the top colleges like top four universities, Stanford, Harvard, or like National University of Singapore and all? What is the criteria for CGPA?
So I think having a good CGPA or even an excellent CGPA is very, very helpful, because, like you said, you have to. Foreign universities admit you on a variety of factors, not just one, like your particular score. But like you said, if you come from a not so well-known university or college, then you already have like a disadvantage in one area, right? So you have to make up for that in other places. So I think maintaining a very good CGPA is definitely very important if you want to head out for masters or PhD. And it depends how important it is on the places you want to go to. For example, I think in Singapore it might not be so important because their education system is a bit similar to us, because they also use the gate scores to admit Indian students. So if you are like having not so good CGPA, maybe you can still get into that. But in the US and in North America in particular, your CGPA is very, very necessary.
So like after making a maintaining a good CGPA, I believe that the second most important thing in your research career is how many research paper you have written, like what projects you have made are the most important thing. So before going, what is the importance of research paper and all? Can you please explain a bit about what is research paper? Like a short summary kind.
Mhm. Yeah. So a research paper is basically when you have carried out some experiments, or you have studied something and you have found something new, and then you present it to the research community in the form of a research paper. So it can be anything. It can be like a new data set that you have created. If people write research papers on that. It can be like a survey paper where you have like studied the recent research in one particular area and you have just collated all of that in one paper. That is called a survey paper. or it can be something that you have developed some new architecture or a new optimization function or a new algorithm uh, where you can present your results in a research paper and you can show that, hey, my new idea in this particular field is surpassing the previous idea. So I think it should become the new accepted way, or it is a new way of doing things. So a research paper is just showing that.
So, like, what is the importance of the us having a research paper before you applying for the foreign university for masters or PhD degree, even for in the Indian universities also? Like, what is the basic standard for the research paper? Like, this should be the quality of your paper, or like there is any criteria that your paper should be published in any of the journal before you apply for the specific university.
Mhm. So, well, it depends very strong university to university. So, I cannot give a very general answer, but what I'll say is, uh, if you have done research, research paper is it is not always necessary that you have done some research, then you will have a research paper for sure, because it happens that because when you submit research paper, it is not sure that it will be accepted. And again, that is another factor, that how good that research venue is. So if you're doing some work, try to make sure that if you're submitting it, submit it in a place that is well known, well respected, and not just some place that publishes anything. So that is one thing I think people starting out need to be careful about, because there are many journals and conferences that will accept anything just to charge you in particular amount and publish it. But then having that paper which is not which is a what we call it is a predatory conference, a predatory journal, because they accept anything. So having that paper will be more harmful to you than beneficial. So if you have done some research, which is not necessary that you have a research paper, but the important thing that is that what you have learned, what you have applied, and what you can show for it if you don't have a research paper, and also the letter of recommendations of the person that you have done research with. That is also very important. And if you have a research paper in a good or very good venue or a journal, it's definitely a plus for you. And yeah, for masters, I don't think it is always necessary. It is helpful, but if you apply for PhD, then it is absolutely necessary to have at least one paper, at least in the field of machine learning and nowadays even cybersecurity, because it is getting more and more competitive nowadays. So if you're planning to apply for masters, then try to get a paper, and if you can't, that's fine. But try to show what you have done, and you can support that in your statement of purpose, and your it can be reflected in your letter of recommendation as well.
So can you please name any reputed publisher which are helpful for the students, because they are not so awareness about this thing, and this is a very like a new thing I listened from you, like you should be publishing your research paper with the reputed publishers only.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, in machine learning, there's CVPR, which is computer vision and pattern recognition. It is the top venue for computer vision.
Okay.
There is WACV, which is winter applications of computer vision. It is again a top venue. You have ICML, which is the International Conference on Machine Learning. You have ICLR, which is International Conference on Learning Representations. And you have the NeurIPS, which is neural, I forget the full form, but it is called NeurIPS or NIPS, Neural Information Processing Systems. I'm not very sure of the full form. You can check that. But these are some of the very top conferences in machine learning. And if you want to know more, like which are good or which are bad, there is a system of ranking which is called core ranking. You can search that up, core conference ranking, which will show you like how well known or how well rated that venue is. So I think in general, if you're publishing a paper or a journal, you should not try anything below A or B star. The top is A star, then comes A, and then is B star. So do not submit to anything below B star. Submit to only B star and above. And I'll say prefer to try to submit to A and A star.
Okay. So like
it is definitely. Another thing I'd like to add. Sorry for interrupting. It is definitely very competitive. It is not going to be easy. I'll tell you that I have been doing research since September 2022, and it's about May 2024 now. And I still don't have a research paper. Why? because I submitted my work from Georgia Tech multiple times and it has been rejected. But that is how things are in research. You have to keep your head up. You have to keep progressing, and do not think that I've done a good work, so it will be published in one try. Sometimes it can be a bit of a luck thing also. But if you have a good paper, then if you keep submitting and keep working on it, it will definitely be accepted and will be very helpful to you.
So like since the starting of the launch of the GPT and all, there's a way for the AI and especially in the research, there is something called like solo research paper where you don't need any teacher and all. You are doing all research yourself and just publishing it. So do you think if you are publishing a research paper by yourself, there's something significant or it's all no value at all? Anything else? Because in AI, you don't need any tools like any instrument to do research. So you can easily do a solo research, especially since the holidays are going and if someone was not able to find any research internship or like research work with the assistant, should he go with the research solo research? Is it useful for him?
So yes, you should definitely start with solar research, and by solar research I mean read research papers, try to implement them, and try to find what good areas are. But in generally in the field of research, it is very difficult to do it alone uh, unless you're like very smart, because it is always necessary to have an advisor who can tell you things, who can advise you on where you're going wrong, or where you're what people like to see when they're submitting, when they're reviewing research papers. So I think that advisory thing is very important. And again, if you're working on a big research project, it is almost impossible that you'll be able to complete something on your own in a span of, let's say, 4 or 5 months. Uh, any research project at least requires two active members and, let's say, one advisors. So yeah, by solo research you can start reading papers and implementing them, but to go ahead and publish and to actually succeed, it is very uncommon for someone to do it all alone. In a at least junior sense. Once you have a PhD, maybe you can, because that is what a PhD is. You're trying to show that you have the aptitude for research. But before that, it is a bit difficult.
So yeah, we are talking about the research paper and all. So how do you write your own research paper first time? Like what is the like we have to write statement of purpose before getting into the any university for research internship and all. So what was your experience like applying for the National University of Singapore and Georgia Institute of Technology? How one some convince the university to take them as a internship or like applying to a specific professor through cold emailing works and all?
Well, to be honest, the Georgia Tech internship was definitely due to the help from Bennett University. So I was first interviewed by Bennett University. They understood what my interests are and what I'm strong at and what I would like to do. And based on that, they connected me with a professor there, and I worked on a project there. But about cold emailing, so I got my research assistantship for that, or officially it's called project assistantship through cold emailing at IIT. So I think you need to be, before emailing anyone, you should definitely go and read their research, at least read the 2, 3 recent papers to understand what is the work that they do. Because if you just, mail a professor, say, and I like your work in machine learning and AI, that is a very wide statement, because research is in uh, very constrained, or it is in very particular subtopics, right?
Yeah.
So let's say if someone is working on computer vision, it is not necessary that they'll work on all areas computer vision, right? Computer vision is a very wide field. It can be anything like from 3D computer vision to human pose estimation to pose understanding, right? So you have to understand first what is the work that they do, and then you can show that, I have read your research. I like this part. Maybe you can say that you can make some suggestions, which it will be even more impressive for them, the one who's reading the email, that I read this part, maybe you could have done this differently, or maybe what will happen if we do this instead of this, that will also maybe catch their eye. But don't make it like, don't do it for the sake of doing it. Just you have to make sure that you're actually interested in their work, actually interested in their their narrow field of work, and yeah, you have to make a good impression when you're cold emailing, and you have to show that you have the skills to succeed in their group. So, for example, if someone is applying to a computer vision lab, they should show that they have worked on these types of computer vision projects, and these are relevant to their the professor's area of work. So, showing a match with the work that you have done and the work they have, that is the very most important thing. Or at least showing that you understand what the work is and you can do that work. It is something important. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I specifically asked for the cold emailing part because students believe that they will send one or two email to the professor and they will reply to them. But I believe that in a cold emailing, you should have to at least send at least 100 emails, and that to be personalized because students generally
Hmm.
make mistake that they send the same email to 100 of professors, like some
Hmm.
they select the 100 professors working in the field of computer vision and they will send them same email. I don't think that it's going to be work because a professor is finding someone who can
Hmm.
really align with their
Hmm.
research interest.
Yeah. So, you have to get out of that mindset that you can trick someone into taking you, because you have to remember that the position you are in right now, they were in that position maybe 15, 20, 30 years ago, and they were in that position. So you have to make very, very, very personalized emails. You have to read their papers, maybe even mention their papers. And yes, even after doing all this, it is not necessary that you'll get reply. You have to send at least 25, 30, 35, 40, and depending on your profile, you may get like one, two, three responses, maybe not even that. So two things that are important here are like personalizing the email for each professor
Yeah.
or each researcher, and then being consistent, not giving up. That is important as well.
So like
And yes, try to also, sorry for interrupting again. Though one of the more important things is every professor has a web page, has a website of their own. So it is possible that they have mentioned on the website some particular instructions that, they'll say that if you want to reach out to me for this particular thing, then your email has to be like this, or you have to commit this period of this particular amount of time. So you have to go through that professor, you have to go through that researcher, you have to know them well, at least spend at least 1 or 2 hours on one professor before writing them an email. And yes, just follow the instructions. And it is also possible that they'll mention that, I don't take any short-term interns, because, research is usually a long-term thing. You cannot achieve anything in the short term. So yeah, watch out for that, and try not to make a bad impression in your first email. Try to avoid any spelling errors, obviously. So yeah, these are the important things.
So do you think like before a student applying who is completely beginner, didn't have any research internship experience before, and directly applying to some top university like Stanford, MIT, and all will work? I think like before applying to some top university, you should first start with some Indian university like IITs and all, because they have specific program for the internship also, research internship. So, or
Mhm.
you disagree with the point that if you are starting with the research internship, you can directly grab a good foreign internship also, like at a good top ranked university also.
Yeah. Well, it definitely depends on your profile, on what you've done till now. And, some professors are very, some professors abroad are also very eager to have interns, because, maybe starting out in their career as a professor, and they need as many hands they can get. So, but I'll say this, that if you email a foreign professor and you have a like not so very good profile, like you don't have like two, three research papers, or you don't you're only in your second or third year, they'll definitely not call you to campus directly. They'll first suggest that, let's start a work remotely, and they'll judge you on that basis. So once you get an opportunity, you have to take it. And like you said, foreign universities can be very competitive. So if I can suggest, from my experience, I know that if you're in your final year, I think in Bennett, if you have an internship in your final year, then you don't have to do any coursework, right? So in your final year, definitely you can reach out to professors at IIT, and there are many assistantship positions open at IIT. And I can tell you this firsthand from what I've heard from my professor, that there is no lack of positions or funding at IITs. There's a lack of talent because most of the talent goes abroad. In India, you might have noticed that many Indians they go abroad instead of preferring IITs, and those who stay back, they usually have some problem due to which they are not going abroad. So it is very limited. So yes, if you're not able to get anything abroad, don't be disheartened. It is definitely not a bad thing. IITs, there are definitely, in India, obviously they're the best, but worldwide also they're very well respected. And the professors at IITs, they have done their PhDs from abroad. So, the top five IITs, they only take professors who have done their PhD or their postdoc from abroad and have some very good research experience. It is uncommon to find a professor at IIT who has done their PhD in India. There are very few. They exist, I won't deny that, but they will definitely have some connections abroad. And if you succeed at IIT, then your connection will definitely help you to go abroad. So if your goal is going abroad, then IIT can act as a step. IIT, NIT, Triple IT, BITS, these are all very good research institutions.
So, like, if you want to summarize your statement of purpose, like process of writing a statement of purpose into 5 points, how will you summarize it? Like, what are the key points you should be focused while writing a statement of purpose?
So I think it depends on the program we are applying to. So again, every program will probably have a site that will mention what all they look for in SOP. But in a very high level view, you should be able to you should be able to introduce yourself on a very brief manner that you have to introduce yourself while not repeating what you have mentioned in your CV. Because you have already submitted a CV or resume at one place, and then SOP is an additional factor. So you have to introduce yourself. You have to say why you're interested in doing a master's. If you're interested in research, why you're interested in research in that particular area, and what you would like to achieve from that particular research. And you have to also mention why that university. Maybe they'll try to see this is a good candidate, but why us? Why this university? So you have to say that maybe that university has good research in your area. You can mention that, or you can say that these particular professors work in my area of interest. So this is why I'm applying to this university. So you basically have to make a point as to why they should admit you and nobody else or somebody else. So that is the point of a SOP, to tell your story and to tell your goals and to describe yourself. That is that one. This is that one document there where you can express yourself as however you want. You can take this opportunity to do so.
So, like, there any site where you can find some SOPs for example, like any template and all?
Well, yes, there are many. I have referred to many SOPs that are available online. Just don't search SOP for master admission. Don't just search like that. There will be very specific sites. I don't remember the links right now. I can definitely share those to you, and you can share those to your viewers. But there are some SOPs for masters and PhD, and you can take inspiration from that. Again, don't copy paste it. If you copy paste it, they will definitely know, because these people are way more experienced than you in this field, and they have been doing this for years, so they'll know. But yes, I can share some with you.
So I don't think I have to answer question this about. But should you use AI for research? I think you are aware of launching of GPT-4o, and now it can read documents also, and it's more of a reasoning based model. So do you think if a student is starting with the research, especially AI itself also, should he or she go with using AI?
Well, I think it definitely can be a useful tool, but you just because you have an AI doesn't mean just because you have an LLM doesn't mean you'll be successful in research. You can maybe if you have like a last piece of text which you cannot understand, maybe you can give that to the language model to maybe explain it well. But again, you have to be careful because we talked about hallucinations. So many times the LLMs get it wrong when they're explaining and trying to make you understand things. So you have to be careful. It is a tool that can be used, but it is definitely not something that can replace the amount and the amount of work you do and the ideas that you have put in. So the ideas have to be yours, the hard work has to be yours, but maybe like ChatGPT and all these can make your life easier. But at the end of the day, it is your hard work and your research that will, in the end, be the main factor.
So I was like quite excited to know about your like internship experience at Georgia Institute of Technology and National University of Singapore. So like starting with the Georgia Institute of Technology, how was your experience? Like it was a remote internship or like it was in person internship? Like and what the
Yeah.
new learnings you learned from there?
It started off as remote, but it should have been in person from the start. But because of some visa complications, it started remotely. So from September 2022 to December 2022, I was working remotely. I was working from India itself. And then, so we talked to them and said, hey, because of these issues, we are not able to come. So they said, yeah, we have been doing good work, so we can maybe come in January. So then January 2023 to May 2023, I was on campus in Georgia Tech and I was working from there. And yeah, it was a very, very, very good learning experience, I'd say. You get to see how things work at the best of the best university, how research ideas get formed, how collaborative spirit works, how much hard work these people put in to first get into that place and then again succeed at that place. So that's always an inspiration to me. I've seen people there working so hard, and yeah, so basically that exposure of going abroad and as well as that exposure of at a foreign university is very, very helpful also.
Yeah, so like we know that we are lagging in technology in India. So how does you like get? I believe like doing foreign internship gave you an opportunity to stay ahead of the curve, knowing about a new technology before goes public, and you can do more work on it. Like so, why it is happening? Like we are not promoting research culture in India also. Like why you also in one of your answers talked about it in India, talent is not staying in research, especially. So why it is happening? Like it is lack of resource or lack of good professors or what? Like I want to know.
Well, it is definitely a mixture of many, many different things. I think one of the things is funding. So, well, any masters, let's just leave out masters for now. Usually, master students are not funded, but let's just talk about PhD. So, funding is one important part. Anywhere you go in the world, PhD students are not paid that much. For example, in maybe you'll get your tuition fees waived off, and then you will have maybe a minimum amount to survive. So funding is a important part, and I believe that the funding that you get abroad is just a bit better than what you have in India. Again, there is also there is like the amount of funding there is abroad for many different research universities is much higher than what you have in India. So in India, research is concentrated in, let's say, 10 to 15 universities. But in the US, that is not the case. You have like top 50, top 100 universities that are carrying out research in like equally important areas. In India, it is restricted to maybe the IITs, IISc, NISER, maybe NITs. So research is restricted in India, maybe by the amount of universities that we have. Again, another thing is the lifestyle. Many people prefer the lifestyle that we have abroad compared to India. So that is one reason why people are leaving for abroad. Yes. So that is one of the reasons. But it is not to say that if you stay in India, you cannot succeed in research. I've seen many, many professors who are as good as, if not better, than the professors that we have abroad. So it is not to say that you cannot do it here. You can do it here. Maybe the opportunities are a bit more abundant there. But yes, that's the scene.
How was your experience at National University of Singapore?
Well, at NUS, it wasn't really a research internship. It was more of a summer school thing. So
Okay.
they were just teaching us like the coursework of machine learning. So if you are interested in that, maybe it will be a good program for you. It is called the GAIB program by Corporate Gurukul, which then coordinates with the National University of Singapore. So you have some professors of NUS teaching you. And the one thing I'll say that for research, maybe going there, you can get to interact with the professors there, which are not teaching you, or maybe which are teaching you. You can interact with them, and maybe if you stand out to them, they'll offer you some opportunity. But yeah, that's about Invest.
So, should you do you think like if anyone who is starting with like research and all, like maybe or he's experienced in the research, he should more work on a collaborative project, like a group of two or three or like more students collaborative working on, or he should prefer to go with a solo project, like with only a teacher, like a professor only.
I think it is definitely very, let's say, a personal choice, maybe, or it will differ from circumstance to circumstance. But usually it happens that there are two or three people working on it other than the professor, because it is easier to get things done that way when you have 2 to 3 people. But again, there's a saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. So maybe too many hands on deck can make things slower and clunky. But I think 2 to 3 collaborators in one project or is a good number to complete one particular project. But if you're doing it solo with a professor, maybe he'll have some ideas for you, or maybe he'll have some particular direction for you that he thinks that you can do alone. So that is also possible. But usually it happens that you can do in one project there are 2 to 3 people at the very least.
So it may happen like you are working on a specific project and doing research about it, and you stuck at a specific problem, and like you are stuck at that problem for like 2 days, week, or sometimes like months. It takes me a month. So at that time, how do you manage your like mindset? Because it sometimes you have came with a thought of giving up and just leaving all these things. So how do you like maintain your mindset that you have to work on this? You can't leave it like this.
Hmm. I think in research, one of the most important things is self-motivation and being motivated towards the work that you do. So that is why doing a PhD is a very big step, because you're not going to get paid as much as you would in the corporate world, and there won't be many immediate rewards. But you have to, if you are really really in love with the topic that you're doing, I think you'll find the motivation to pull out of that. Uh, how you pull out of it, maybe you talk to your professors, maybe they'll have encountered some problem similar during their research, or maybe they know a student who has encountered some similar problem. You can reach out to people who are working in similar areas. uh, that is very common that you're working on research and you're stuck at some part, and people have already faced that part before. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That is one important thing. So motivation and the willingness to ask for help, these are the two things that are very important.
Any general piece of advice you want to give to the students who are looking to start with the research field, especially in AI and machine learning? And if someone want to enter the cybersecurity part, which you are in, which is in very early stage of development in machine learning algorithms and all.
Mhm. So I'll say that, try to read the very basic piece of work that has been done in the field. For example, in CNN, we have heard of this paper called AlexNet. This is the very basic paper. So try to read that first. And once you have that foundation, study like once that foundation is clear, there are many diverging paths that are available. So try to see which one is interesting for you, and then just hold on to that, and then study that as much as possible, make projects, and then try to look for people who can advise you, who can maybe work with you. So try to look for other people who will be able to help you in this journey, uh, and be clear to as to why you want to do research, because just to say, like I said, I started as thinking that I'll just do research just to get a master's program. That is not, if you take that as a goal, you won't be very motivated to do research. So yeah, understanding why you want to do research and understanding the area you want to do research in is very important.
So like we are just ending with our episode, but before ending, we have a special rapid fire round in which I will be asking for like 4 to 5 questions, and you have to try to answer them as fast as you can answer them. Okay, so you are ready?
Okay. let's go.
So,
Yeah,
what is
let's
your
start.
favorite machine learning algorithm without which you can't survive?
XGBoost.
One book which influenced your career, your life in past 5 10 years.
This is a tough one. Uh, let's just skip this one because I've
Okay.
only started reading books very recently again.
Okay. Your one go-to productivity tool without which you can't start your day and all.
Google Calendar or Apple Calendar.
Okay.
Calendar.
So, like one piece of advice you would give to yourself if you have to start again with your research journey.
Don't procrastinate.
Okay. Which programming language you will use if you want to use it in the machine learning algorithm, and Python is not available for you.
Hmm, Python is not available. Maybe Python is not the C++.
Okay. So thank you for joining us. Any last piece of advice for you want to give any student who is watching to this episode till the last?
Uh, well, stay motivated, stay hustling, and don't give up on your dreams. Keep working. Things will definitely work out.
Okay, so guys, like we are ending with this episode. Please don't miss to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And we are coming with so many videos. Like we are coming with more videos on the placement in Fang and Mang. And so please subscribe to this channel and please don't forget to follow Avna on LinkedIn and all. So are you available on Instagram? Like,
Yeah, I'm there on Instagram. I'm there on LinkedIn. I have my own website. So I'll give all those links to you and you can reach out to me however you feel comfortable.
so you can contact him for any help if you want. So like one thing I just want to ask, like specifically for the Bennett students, if there is any Bennett student who want to approach a professor in Bennett only, who would it be for the research purpose in AI field?
Well, I cannot say this answer because it's been a while since I graduated. It's been a year, and since then many different things have changed. So I haven't. I was not there in my final year, so many professors left during that point of time. And then in the year that I've graduated, again many things have changed. But I'll say the professor Bennett are very open to if you want to participate in research, they're always very open. Just try to you're attending classes, you will know who's the who teaches machine learning, who does research in machine learning. So just go to them, they'll always be available for you, not hesitate.
So who was your mentor at Bennett during your graduation period?
Yeah, my mentor was Dr. Vipul Kumar Mishra. He's I think he left last year. So
Okay.
yeah, he used to work on machine learning model compression and also machine learning for healthcare purposes. Uh, so that was his area, and he was a very good mentor. He has definitely helped me on a lot of things, starting from coursework to research to even accepting a position that I have received, whether to accept or not. So he has always been very helpful to me, and I'll always thank him for his contribution in my journey.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.